Welcome back to the show. I'm Stan Stouter. This is Marketplace Wisdom. We are honored to have with us a distinguished guest, Mr. Bob Harrison. Bob has been in the full gospel businessman, charismatic circles, travels the world teaching principles of increase. And Bob, before the break, I asked you two questions, and one of them is somebody that's been quoting the word and has been applying her faith, but the results are slow to manifest in their life. What would you say to that person that's trying to hang on and really trying to exert patience?
Well, that's a very good question, because oftentimes there is always a time between seed time and harvest time. We live in a day where everybody wants things now. They complain if from placing the order to going through the drive-through window it takes over 1 minute. You know, and so and a part of that is okay, because we're time oriented and trying to save time so we get more things done. But the problem is oftentimes we bring that into trying to find marriage solutions, or we bring that into trying to find financial solutions. And if it doesn't happen in a week, or it doesn't happen in a month, then we get discouraged and want to quit because we're instantaneously minded. And we have to realize sometimes there's a seasonal change that has to take place. There's time for that seed to have to grow and be watered in order for the harvest to come. And it's true not just when we give, it's true with what we put inside of ourselves, our confessions. And sometimes hanging on is success, because if you can hang on at a down season and make right changes, then when the season changes, you're going to be in a position for great success. So I teach people, I said, don't get discouraged. If you're doing the right things and you're just hanging on, the season is going to change. Everything comes to an end. Life is a collection of seasons. And so just hang on to the end of that season and the beginning of the next season. And by the way, that is one of the key things that helped me when my wife at 37 years passed away.
Yeah, so sad.
I speak extensively in the secular arena. And I spoke with a guy named General Norman Schwarzkopf years ago, commander of the Iraq forces in the First War. And I asked him, how did he deal with the change of going from the military, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, surrounded by men, doing drills and war games. And here I was with him. He's living at a country club outside Tampa, Florida, flying in a private jet, and getting paid $40,000 for a 30-minute speech. I mean, you talk about a life change.
Sure.
And what he said to me was profound. He said, Bob, I've recognized that life is a collection of seasons. Most people hang on to seasons after they're over. Winners recognize when a season has ended. They make adjustments and changes. They grab the memories of the old season, but they embrace the new season. And when my wife passed away, it was like his words rang, your season with Cindy is over. It doesn't mean your life is over. You're just in another season. And then there'll be another season. And so I lived for 10 years as a widower, and now I'm in a season of being remarried. My life is a collection of seasons. And when we see life as a series of beginnings and endings, beginnings and endings, beginnings and endings, then these dips and these valleys and these sudden changes, they don't jar us to our core. We realize that's the process of life. And all I got to do is get from here to B, because when it gets to B, it's going to change. So I think long term. I don't think short term.
Okay.
And I keep doing the right things. I keep the prayer going. I keep the word going. I keep standing in God's word. I keep surrounding myself with right kinds of people. And if I do that, I believe I'm going to endure to the point that that season's going to change and I'm going to have success.
So for the person that's hanging on, that's trying to make it through the current season, the instruction would be, don't just look at this as a terminal time in your life. It's a transitional time in your life.
Yes, and if you can really get enough of the input that you can get courage and faith in you, you actually might be able to get some opportunities that you could actually invest in the down market, that when the market turned would take you out of your losses and you recover a lot quicker because you made a positive move in a negative economy. Rather than just thinking I got to hang with my losses, you could actually change your mindset and begin to make some investments that would turn around and pay off some of the losses when you pull out. And that's one of the things we try to teach people to do. Think counter opposite of what's happening. See, yes, we're caught in a season, but if we can think opposite of a season, and we can be buying when people are selling, if we can be a faith when they're in fear, we're going to have opportunities.
You walked into a Chrysler dealership for an oil change and walked out with ownership of a Chrysler dealership.
You got it. Yeah. The only reason I got that store was It was bad.
Yeah.
The economy was bad. The gas prices was bad. They were losing money. They didn't know what to do. Boom, in comes Bob Harrison, who had sold cars 2 weeks in his life and got a Chrysler dealership.
I often look at the present economic condition as the enemy is always easier to hit the closer he is.
Yeah.
And when you're feeling that pressure of win, God, win, it's to me, it's because the enemy is so close that you can't miss him.
That's right.
When everything's going good, it's hard to find the opportunities, but right now there's opportunity galore.
I have 23 CD series that we have, and one of them is called How to Win Big Battles. And it's based upon the strategies that David used to defeat the giant. And one of them you just mentioned. It said, David hasted and ran towards the army to meet the giant. In other words, when David started the battle, the target wasn't clear. He had to get closer to the target. So he ran towards the army to meet the giant. And exactly what you said. See, as we run closer to the target, it becomes clearer to us, and that's when we can have a victory.
That's good.
Yeah.
Before the break, I asked you for insight on another topic, and this is a topic that I have been pondering of late, and that is, what is it that distinguishes one man's life from another man's life? If a man wants to have a life that when he gets to heaven is well done, thou good and faithful, what is it that a man can do or a woman can do to lead a quote-unquote distinguished life?
If you don't mind, let me answer that in a non-spiritual context first.
Sure.
To live a life of significance involves, I think, two different things. Number one, it means living a life thinking beyond yourself.
That's good.
You cannot live a significant life. You can create fame, but you can't live a significant life thinking only of yourself. Significant comes when you begin to think about others. But in related to that, thinking about others isn't enough. That still leaves you in the radar of the masses. So you have to find some way to distinguish yourself from the masses, some way that's going to cause you to be noticed above the radar, whatever that might be. It could be talent. It could be like a turnaround of a business. It could be some award you win, and that award could take you the rest of your life. I mean, you could, at 18 years of age, become an Olympic champion, and that significant moment could be a title that would open doors for you the rest of your life.
Yes, that's true.
So once you have that significant moment, it can be a calling card the rest of your life. So whenever those opportunities come, you have the chance to become significant, put all your resources into that, because that moment might not come again for 10 or 20 or 30 years, but when that moment is there, capture it. Put the other things on the side and grab that moment. Now, you can do it on a lower scale. We were talking about this coming out here. I did it with my kids on the road.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
I always tried to create what I call power moments, or moments of memory that they would remember, so that being on the road with me when we travel wouldn't be a negative of, oh my goodness, I'm in another hotel, I got to pack, I got to do a meeting. But I would always try and find something, whether it's go to Dairy Queen or find a site over here or do this, to give them significance. And my kids to this day talk about some of the most fun times in their life was when they were on the road with Dad. And then I had 5 children. I would take one of them with me every 5th trip when I could. And so they talked about all the trips they got to go on. Rather than Dad's always gone, I changed their focus. I created significance. I get to go with Dad to San Francisco. Well, I'm going to get to go with Dad to New York City. And so I took what would be a negative, a positive. I created something that would be negative and made something significant out of it. So when you really focus on something, you have the ability to create significance. But then in the spiritual sense, we add something. I think in the spiritual sense, significant comes when you can identify what God is calling you to do, and you're willing to make the changes in your life to do that thing that He's called you to do. And for me, I created secular significance in the business world. I make more money on my dealership now than when I owned it, because I make more money now talking about it, writing about it, having CDs about it. So I make more money now than when so it created significance. I'm making money on it the rest of my life. But spiritual significance came to me when I was willing to leave the business world, at the age of 37, go to Bible school with teenagers and graduate school of theology, and spend a year getting ready for the next phase of my life to go into ministry and teach these principles around the world. So spiritual significance came to me when I was willing to pay the price to change to do what God told me to do.
So significance is about not being myopic on your own needs, but being exterior focused as well. Finding a time where significance is crossing your path and focusing your energies to harvest that opportunity of significance.
Right.
And then creating moments or replaying that significance, leveraging it into future opportunities.
Leveraging it through what you do, leveraging it through marketing,
Sure.
word of mouth,
Sure.
you know, Facebook, whatever it is. I mean, if you're going to do something, make it known.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
You know, and so that then creates a greater significance of what you're doing and recognizing the power that is in that.
I think being distinguished is not, and I know this is marketplace wisdom and it's about income and prosperity, but it's not about having more money than the next guy. I was reading in Forbes, this guy Stan, I remembered his first name because it's mine, Grolnick, and he owns the St. Louis Rams, the Denver Nuggets, the Colorado Avalanche. He owns thousands of acres, and he's off the radar. He's not famous at all. In fact, he eschews the limelight.
Right.
But yet he has created a great deal of significance by the amount of horsepower, financial horsepower that he has without being lustful for recognition.
Yeah. And Warren Buffett.
Yeah,
you know, one of the richest men in the world. He's creating significance because he's going around trying to get other multimillionaires to agree to give away half of their fortune to help needy and hurting people.
Sure.
So his significance is coming by taking his focus off himself and trying to figure out how he can make a difference in this world and be a blessing to others.
I would say, like Rockefeller, he will be more known for the influence of getting those like-minded wealthy individuals to do more for humanity than he will be known for Berkshire Hathaway.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And same thing with Gates.
Buffett, yes, and Gates, right.
Yeah, I think his legacy will not be that he created the operating system that the world runs on as much as it'll be what he, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, does for the people that are disenfranchised throughout the world.
But see, all of us can create significance even without the millions.
That's right.
We can create significance just by trying to ask God, what can we do to be a blessing to others wherever we are? How can we be a greater blessing to our marriages? How can we be a greater blessing in our homes? How can we be a greater blessing to those people we're coming in contact with every day? How can we be a greater blessing in our church? And as we do that, we will live a life of significance, which will be the happiest life anybody can live.
That's beautiful. And it can be by being significant to the neighbor.